the message to take away here is that when parenting time is limited, or it's not how you'd like it to be, or there's inconsistency, your consistency becomes even more powerful.
What if the strongest bond between you and your child isn't built during big vacations, expensive outings, or even the amount of time you have together, but through small rituals repeated over and over again? Research consistently shows that children thrive on predictability and emotional connection. Family rituals, regular, meaningful activities that happen consistently, are associated with greater emotional security, stronger parent child relationships, and better adjustment during family transitions. For children navigating separation, divorce, or blended family dynamics, routines and rituals become especially important because they provide stability during periods of change. Studies on attachment and resilience suggest that children are less affected by family structure itself and more affected by the quality, consistency, and emotional availability of the relationships with caregivers. That means a 5-minute ritual repeated every week can have more long term impact than occasional grand gestures. So today we're talking about practical connection rituals for separated dads and stepfamily dads. Simple ways to build trust, belonging, and emotional closeness, even when family life is complicated. So today, as I said, we're talking about connection rituals for separated and stepfamily dads on the Dad Central Show. Drew, thoughts on this one?
Ed, good to see you. Great to have this conversation, albeit honestly, it's really hard. Um, I was actually getting emotional as you were doing the opening, because I was remembering some of the very, very difficult times through a high conflict separation, and the pain that I saw in my kids. And not only the pain I saw in my kids, but the pain I experienced. So I'm just going to be real. I, I my goal is that anyone who's listening is going to be able to take some value, and I think that knowing what you said in the opening, I saw some. Okay, wow, I did this stuff. Now I understand how my kids were able to weather some of the chaos that they had to live through, and so that's affirming for me. But I'm still mindful of how much pain can be involved with being separated from your kids and not seeing them as much as you'd like to. So if you're listening and you're a dad or a parent in that circumstance, my heart goes out to you. Just know that we do have the capacity to really stabilize things for our children at a time when they really do need it. And so the more that hopefully you can take, there's hope, there's practical ways to do it, and there's things that you can control that will make a difference for your kids. I hope you're able to take that away from today's conversation.
Excellent. Well said. Well said. So you're watching or listening to Dad Central, a parenting podcast to reduce stress and build confidence in fatherhood. As always, our show is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Dove Men Plus Care believes that care is the best of a man, because when men care for themselves and others, there's a positive impact. And as always, we'd like you to send in questions to us so we can answer them. So please email your questions to questions@dadcentral.ca. So as we look at this conversation topic today, we're going to look at some segments here. Why rituals matter more than you think. Also, connection rituals for separated dads. We're going to talk about connection rituals for stepfamily dads. And then what gets in the way. So let's start off with number one. Our first segment of our conversation today. Why rituals matter more than what you think. Drew?
Well, they matter more than you think, because consistency is king. And consistency, when a child is going through a new family structure, there could be turmoil, there could be uncertainty. Consistency creates stability for them. And the more that they have stability slash predictability, the better it is for them to be able to weather the difficulties. And so when they know that they can count on a moment with dad, it creates emotional safety. And we know how powerful emotional safety is for attachment, for things like trust, as well as for resilience. So that's why rituals matter. They do that. They create predictability, something to look forward to, something to count on when a lot of the things in their world have changed. So, you want to talk, Ed? Why don't you talk a little bit about? Well, no, I guess I'll talk specifically about this, and then maybe you can give some of the examples. When I was going through my separation, and there were transitions, those often created the most intense feelings in the children. You saw the most volatility, I would say, because they ultimately feel very uncertain. Kids are wondering things like this that you wouldn't think of in just the basics of a transition, but it's the deeper things that they can't articulate that are truly happening, and they're wondering things like, do I still matter? Where do I ultimately belong? Or will things keep changing? I always wonder, even now with my kids, they're half with us, half with their mom. you know what's it like for them to sleep in two different beds every single week? And what does that cause them to question? Is there a sense of feeling like, I'm a guy who likes his bed? I like to know that I'm in my bed, and but imagine if it's constantly changing. What is that? And these are for children who don't have the emotional maturity, right? So these rituals help answer these questions without needing a speech, without needing to go deep into the emotions. They just provide something that can transcend the circumstance. So why
Yeah.
don't you give some examples, Ed?
Sure. Saturday morning pancake breakfast, or any sort of, especially on the weekends, having breakfast or lunch or even dinner together. One of the things I grew up with when I was a young guy was a Sunday evening family dinner. We got together around the table. That was a ritual, a Sunday ritual. So a Friday night phone call, secret handshake at exchanges, bedtime texts when apart, monthly dad child outings. Those are some examples, and I'm sure there's many, many more, but just some suggestions in regards to, those things that really matter. So children remember patterns more than promises. I think it's a very powerful statement. Children remember patterns more than promises. So, Drew, let's talk about connection rituals for separated dads.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I'll share some personal examples. Hopefully, they offer value for anyone. The message to take away here is that when parenting time is limited, or it's not how you'd like it to be, or there's inconsistency, your consistency becomes even more powerful. So here are a couple ideas, three of them, which you can do, and I'll share personal examples. So one is a transition ritual, and they're typically difficult, they're challenging, and so you can create a predictable routine when children are coming to your house or coming to be with you, and when they're leaving and transitioning back. And that's was something that I chose to do. I'll give you a couple different examples, and I'll share what I did. So an example could be, that they've got a favorite snack, and it's just always there, ready and available for them. So when they get back, hey, here's your snack. It's right there waiting for you. You could have some form of a special greeting, right? Whatever that is. So maybe you guys have a secret handshake. Maybe you have something that you just do as like you say to each other. Whatever it is, that could be part of that. You could have a simple, short check-in conversation, depending on the age. There's no limit to what it could be. The point is that it helps the children emotionally transition between homes. Now, for me, I chose, because faith is important to me, I chose to bless my kids when they would leave my presence. And I didn't do it just when they were transitioning back to their mother. I did it anytime they were leaving my presence when they were with me. So if they're heading to school primarily, and then when they're heading back to their mom's house. And so that was a simple, short statement, that or a short prayer over them, that I sent them out into the world or into where they were going with a blessing. That was me. And a similar type of thing would happen when they would transition to me, that I would essentially do a simple short prayer and a blessing and a gratitude that they're now back with me. Those are my choices. We also have integrated things like food into it. So whether it's their perfect snack or preferred snack, or whether it was more of, hey, as part of within the first half hour, we're always going to sit down and have some sort of a breaking bread together. So those are some ideas on how we brought that to life. You want to talk about number two, Ed, and then I'll finish with number three.
Yeah, the always ritual. So plan something that happens every time that you're together. Every time. So whether it's breakfast, whether it's walk, whether it's reading a chapter together, making something that's consistent, because that becomes the foundation, the anchor to build that relationship with the little limited time that you have. Something that not only you're looking forward to, but also your child or children are looking to. That means that you're building that relationship. They're excited. Gives another reason for them to be excited to see you, because they're looking forward to doing this with dad, whether it's eating, whether it's walking, whether it's riding a bike together. Those things form a foundation for building a stronger relationship with the limited amount of time you have with your child or children. Drew?
Yeah, I'll add in. I had these little, I guess they're rituals with my kids, where I would ask them questions like, how many hugs do you need a day? And the answer is 15 by research, but they're always like 0. And it becomes like, no, that's the wrong answer. And I'd go after them and we'd just have fun with it. And so that to me was something that was always part of our relationship and our dynamic. And so that became something that, I would look at them, even if they were acting out, it became almost like an equalizer or a stable. I'd be like, hey, how many hugs do you need today? And they would be irritated or annoyed. And then it would lighten the mood right away. So whatever it is, the fact that you always do something becomes an emotional anchor. And so, yeah, so good, so valuable. So whatever you can do, dads, do it. And so the third one is staying connected between visits. So while they're not with you, parenting doesn't stop, and you still can have positive influence. Hopefully, you're not a dynamic where your attempts to connect with them are being thwarted or are being thwarted, which is challenging in itself. But it doesn't mean you should stop trying. And I've got an examples. And so you could send them a daily voice note. You could send them a good night text if they're of the age where they have a device. You could ask for a regular video call that's part of the time when they're not with you. With technology, there's some things that are enabled here which are great. Maybe you have a shared journal or a shared app that allows you to connect and communicate with them. One of the things that I chose to do was I sent my kids a recorded video of myself every single day when I was away from them, especially through the first probably like 2.5 years of the separation. Yes, did my ex have issues with it? Yes, did she bring it up and have to deal with it sometimes in dealing with lawyers, etc. But I didn't care. The reason I didn't care is because to me, the consistency of knowing dad has a message and wants to communicate, and I see him and I hear his voice, mattered more because of what it built within them. And so, to me, that was my choice. I'm not saying you need to go and do that, but to me, it was the way that I could feel connected to them, but that they could also see, hear, and experience the love and commitment I had to them as my children, no matter what they were going through or what difficulties or the time we weren't together. So that was in my control, and I chose to do it that way. So the goal isn't constant contact. The goal is it's dependable contact, and I think they could depend upon me.
Nice, 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 nice. So let's look at our next segment: connection rituals for step family dads.
Yeah, this is interesting. So, and I think Chris and I have certainly gone through this, and we had a really good conversation recently about the differences in a blended family dynamic versus a nuclear or kind of the original family dynamic. You know, and we may have caught ourselves into this. Like you can't force belonging, but our goal is to create conditions where belonging, connection, and trust really does grow. And so, a common mistake that stepdads make, and again, I raise my hand as probably guilty of this, is you try to become dad too quickly. Now, trust ultimately develops through repeated positive interactions. And so, some rituals to help you develop trust. And I think this first one's really valuable is interest based rituals. The idea of joining their world before inviting them into yours. So, again, we could give you a number of examples, but I'll just talk personally. So, Sophia is really interested in technology. And when I first started getting to know Sophia, I just asked her questions about it. Like she loved like the iPhone, she loved anything I related, and she knew stuff that the engineers and all. And so I just would gravitate towards asking her about her interest in these things and talking about it or telling her something that I learned that might interest her related to it. And so that to me was my way of going into her world. Then she's also interested in drama and musical theater and theatrical performances. And so I would either share stories of performances that I'd observed, or we would talk, or even bring ideas around theater performance into the conversations. And that was my way of going into the interests that she had to be able to demonstrate that I cared. Anyways, Ed, you want to talk about number two?
Yeah, one-on-one rituals. So every child wants to feel seen individually. So again, taking that time for examples, monthly breakfast date, also walking the dog together, also car ride conversations. Again, my neighbor around the corner, he goes out every night, and sometimes it's with the whole family, but there are times where he'll just walk the dog with his daughter, and they do the walking every like Monday to Friday consistently, and you'll see them walking one on one. So that's a nice regular ritual, and the bonding that happens, the conversations, that's just him and his daughter one on one, and do it consistently. It's a wonderful habit. So pick those one on one things where you can both, with that child and yourself, that you can really invest some quality time. Drew?
Yeah, three is family belonging rituals. Try and create new traditions together. What we've done, ugly Christmas pajamas have become, but they're not always ugly. I might get in trouble for making that statement that they're ugly. But, at Christmas time, we do a family pajama. We all have the same pajamas together. Other examples, maybe you do Taco Tuesdays, movie nights. Movie nights were something that are important for our family. You could do birthday traditions, family gratitude jar. One of the things that we've done is at New Year's, we do a ritual of where we, you know, name something, that we're grateful for the year that completed. We name something that we want to leave behind in this year, and then we name something we're looking forward to for the next year. And then the thing that we want to leave behind, we all write it on a piece of paper. We put it in a can or a jar, and then we burn it and we release it. That's something that we do. That means symbolizing that we've left what we want to leave behind in the year behind. And so that's something we do, at New Year's as well. So anything that brings people together and can be consistent and memorable, valuable. So, um, you know, one of the things around this building a belonging in a blended family is that kids, they're going to often resist relationships that they feel are being imposed upon them, but they're more likely to embrace relationships that develop naturally or that they're invited into through some of these shared experiences.
Absolutely. In our final segment for this episode, we hear this from dads sometimes a lot. What gets in the way?
Well, common challenges, I actually deal with this pretty consistently now as my child doesn't seem interested. The reality is that connection rituals often work quietly. And as much as I'm going to say this, sometimes it doesn't feel that way, right? And kids may not show enthusiasm immediately, but consistency definitely builds trust over time. Anyways, so that's one of them. Another thing that gets in the way is I don't have time. I don't have enough time. With 5 kids in our blended family structure, we could definitely feel like that. But the research on relationships consistently finds that quality and consistency matter more than quality alone. And so Kristen and I are challenged at times to definitely apply this. But our goal is that we work through it as best we can. So and we definitely don't. I think I'm better at this than Kristen, but there's things that she's definitely way better at than I am. Is being able to let it go if it doesn't work perfectly. Right? She has a lot of guilt and sometimes questioning herself just because she cares so much. But the more you can let go if you don't, as Ed likes to tell us, and he will at the end of this recording, is to give ourselves some grace. Over to you, Ed, for the next.
Well, I think that we covered a lot today. So, as a final one, too, my stepchild keeps me at arm's length. Reality, respect the pace. Relationships are a journey, not a race. So give it time. Give it time. Don't push for closeness. Create opportunities for it. So, as we close up today's episode, what did we chat about? So, first of all, we talked about why rituals matter more than you think. Also, we talked about connection rituals for separated dads. We then spoke about connection rituals for step family dads. And finally, we close out with what gets in the way. So, some takeaways. Takeaway one: children connect through consistency, not perfection. Next up, rituals create emotional security during family transitions. Next, for separated dads, predictable moments can bridge the distance between visits. Next up, for stepfamily dads, trust grows through repeated positive experiences, not pressure. And then finally, last takeaway, small moments, repeated over time become the foundation of lifelong relationships. Drew, what is the resource for our family today?
Resource is Dad Mentor, our father leader community, and our Connected Dad course. To me, they're the kind of the yin and the yang. They go together. The community is about fighting that isolation and the self doubt and the not having defined tools of how to engage in fatherhood. And the Connected Dad course is really about deepening your knowledge and understanding of how to build these trusting, healthy, connected relationships while continuing to grow yourself with the real challenges that fathers face. So those are our resources.
All right, so I'll leave with a challenge of the week and also closing thoughts. So, challenge of the week: choose one connection ritual and commit to it for the next 30 days. Not 5 rituals, not 10, just one. And then ask yourself, what can I do consistently? What would my child look forward to? What can survive a busy schedule? Then protect that ritual like an appointment. Make it a non-negotiable. And then closing thought: years from now, your child may not remember every conversation, every gift, or every outing, but they'll remember the things they could count on: the Saturday breakfast, the bedtime call, the secret handshake, the monthly coffee date, because those rituals quietly told them something every child needs to hear. No matter what changes around us, you can count on me. So, as always, want to say thank you for spending the most important thing, your time, to hang out with us. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, and we'll catch you soon. Be well and keep the faith.